So now that you've got your ukulele out of the box, let's go over how to tune it. So since this is a baritone, we're going to tune the strings to D, G, B, and E. But since it just got shipped to me, the strings are really out of tune. So I'm going to have to tune them quite a bit to get it to where we want. Sometimes I encounter people who haven't been playing an instrument for very long, but somehow they think that they can tune by ear, and they just try to do it without a tuner. And usually it doesn't go very well, and usually the strings are pretty out of tune. And I don't know if they're trying to show off or just be cool or something, or think they can do it all by ear, but I really recommend you use a tuner when you're starting out, because you really want the strings to be as close to perfect as possible. It's not like a shameful thing to use a tuner. A lot of the best musicians in the world use tuners, so I highly recommend using one. Now you can use a tuner that clips onto the headstock of the ukulele, or you can use a tuning app that just uses the microphone on your phone to listen to the strings. I'm going to show you how to tune using an app that I like called InstTuner. I think unfortunately this tuner is only available on iPhones, but I'm not 100% sure. But even if you can't use this particular tuning app, you can just download another one. There are a bunch of free ones. So the first thing we need to do with our baritone ukuleles is know how to tune them. So what we're going to do is we're going to tune the strings to D, G, B, and E. So each of these strings is set to a specific note. And if you play the guitar, you might recognize these as the 4 highest strings on the guitar, right? On a guitar we have E and A, to an E and an A string, and then we have D, G, B, E. So a baritone ukulele is really just like a guitar without those 2 lowest strings, E and A. So if I take my ukulele and I hold it so the back is against my chest, the string that's closest to my head needs to be tuned to the note D, okay? And if I follow that string up the neck and see which tuning peg it's connected to this one right here that's closest to my head. It's on the top side of the headstock. You can always follow the string and make sure you're turning the right tuning peg. So this string, I want it to be a D. So I'm gonna make sure that this is set on chromatic tuning. And just as a general rule of thumb, a lot of tuners, even the ones that clip on, they'll have different settings. Sometimes they'll be like a ukulele setting, a guitar setting, a bass setting, a violin setting, and usually there's an option that says chromatic. And whenever there is, I recommend using the chromatic setting, no matter what instrument you're playing, because chromatic just means all the notes. So when you have it set to one of the specific instruments, the tuner is just listening for those notes that the strings are supposed to be tuned to. But if you set it to chromatic, then the tuner is just listening to all the notes. And so I personally prefer to set my tuners to chromatic. So if you look at this little circle right here on the app, there's like a big wheel, right? And it has all the different pitches in music, the 12 notes. So I'm playing this note. It looks like it's around the C sharp place, but I want it to be a D. So in order to get to that D, this little arm needs to move clockwise, right, to go up to that D. And so what I need to do is I need to make this string tighter so I can get this string to be a higher pitch, because as we go around this circle clockwise, the pitches are getting higher. So a lot of people will ask, okay, which direction do I turn my tuning peg to make it higher? And I could tell you, oh, usually if you turn it this way, it makes higher. If you turn it that way, it gets lower. But personally, I don't think that's a good way to go about doing it, because sometimes people are going to hand you an instrument and they put the string on in the opposite direction. Because when you put a string on a ukulele, you can wrap it in either direction around the tuning peg. So sometimes when you turn it clockwise, it makes it higher, and sometimes when you turn it counterclockwise, it makes it higher. And also sometimes it gets confusing to think about right or left or clockwise or counterclockwise, because the pegs are on different sides of the headstock. I don't know. I just personally find that confusing. Maybe you can visually see which direction you can turn it, and that's cool and good for you. But that's not easy for me to do. So what I like to do is I will play the string. I'll play it with my right hand, and then I'll give it a big crank in one direction. Doesn't matter which direction, but I'll just give it a big crank. And if you listen to that, so this is what I did. I went here. And did it sound like the string was getting lower or higher when I turned it? It sounded like it was getting lower, right? It goes meow, meow. And we can even see here on this on the tuner, look. So I'm starting here and then I went, and see how it moved backwards? It moved from the C sharp to the C, right? It started moving counterclockwise. So that means now I know that when I turn it that direction, that it's getting lower. So I need to turn it the other direction to make it higher. So you can always just use your ear and turn it in one direction and see if it's getting higher or lower just by listening to it. And then you know which direction you need to turn it. So I'm going to turn it the other way to make it higher, because I want it to reach, I want the little arm to move up to the D. D note in that circle because I want it to be clockwise. So I'm going to tighten the string. Let's see, where are we now? And what I'm doing is I'm playing the string and then just tightening it. Here we go. And then I'll just tighten it basically until I get to that, see that green light, and it looks like it's really on the note D. The next string we need to tune is the next one down from the ceiling, so the one right underneath the D string, this one, and that needs to be tuned to the note G for a baritone ukulele. So again, I'm just going to follow the string up to the headstock, right? And I'm going to play the note, and let's see where we are right now with the tuner. So I play it. Actually, I'm already played pretty close to G, see, but it needs to be tightened a little bit more. And this ukulele, I know that I can just turn it the same direction that I turned the other tuning peg because these two strings are tuned the same way. So I know if I just turn it here, it'll get a little bit higher. So I went a little too far, so I'm going to lower it back down again. Going to keep going and tune it back up a little bit higher. Here we go. Oh, yeah, basically around there. So let's see, D, and I'm just checking that D string again, and then the G string. Cool. Now, when I'm teaching people in person and they first are learning how to tune their instruments, a very common thing that people do is they'll try to, while they're tuning it, they'll play the string very short like that. They'll go, and that's not a good idea because when you do that, the tuner can't really get a good grip on the pitch. So it's much better to like play it, let it ring out, and then while it's ringing out, then you can adjust a little bit. Let it ring out each time you're plucking it. So I pluck, I let it ring out, and I adjust. Pluck, I let it ring out, and I adjust. Cool? All right, so the next string, so we have D and then G, and then this next string, we need to tune this string so that it's on the pitch B, okay? So again, I'm going to follow the string up the headstock, and it's this tuning peg I'm going to be tuning. So let's see where we are. Okay, we're on an A, so it's a little flat, right? We need to make it higher. Actually, it's quite flat. So we need to make the string higher and tighten the string till we get to that B note, okay? So I'm going to play it, and I'm going to turn it this direction to make it higher. Oh, there we go. There we are, B now. Okay, so D, G, B, and the very last string needs to be tuned to the note E, okay? So let's see where this, and I know this is going to be this other tuning peg now. So this string closest to the floor, we want an E. Ooh, okay, so we're a little between C sharp and D. We need to get all the way to E. So we've got kind of a ways to go. Oh, still finding it. Okay. And if you see, sometimes the tuner will like flash up different pitches that it isn't really listening to, and so just ignore that. Try to see what the tuner is actually displaying the most of, because sometimes it will just put random note names on the screen, and just try to ignore those and see. Okay, it looks like, all right, it looks like we're really close to E flat just now. See how it flashed up the F quickly, but then it went to E flat. So we really want, it's really E flat then if it's like that's the one it settles on. Okay, we're close. We're on E flat. We just need to get a little higher, tighten it a little bit more. And then now we're at E. There we go. There we go. So D, G, B, E. And when you first get a ukulele, a new one in the mail or from a store, when it comes out of the box, usually the strings are very flat, and it does take a little bit of time for the new tuning to set in when you first tune them. And actually, that also is the case whenever you change your strings. So whenever you get a new set of strings or whenever you get a new ukulele, it does take sometimes even a day or two before those strings really settle in. And so you're going to have to constantly keep retuning them because the strings are stretching out and getting sort of used to being at this new amount of tension. So I'm going to have to keep adjusting. See, it's already gone a little flat, so I have to D, G, B, E. There we go. And there you have it. And that's it. Now you know how to tune the baritone ukulele. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing. I post one video a week and I would love to have you on board. Also, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and leave me a comment. This is the first video in a longer series about the baritone ukulele. I will put links to those other videos once I've uploaded them in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned for the next video and have a wonderful rest of your day or night.